Hello, Facebook Live. Okay, it was telling me I had low network, so I think we're good now. I haven't done one of these in probably 3 weeks. I was gone most of the month in May. So hopefully an audience will come and hang out. Today I wanted to do a video on being true to yourself, being authentic. It's kind of like this buzzword now. But I was going to invite Miss Kayla. Nope, not invite friends to watch. So this is interesting. They changed Facebook Live, so I can't really see who's listening apparently or who's watching. Hello. Okay, I see a couple people now. So they changed everything, so I don't know how to add somebody. I think I hit this button. My viewers. If anybody knows how to add somebody on Facebook Live now, because apparently they just decided to change how they did all this. Hello, great people coming on here. Bring her. Hi, look, you can wave to people now on Facebook Live. So I'm going to add Kayla on here. Kayla has been an entrepreneur friend of mine for a while, mindset coach, ex-personal trainer, so we bond a lot about lots of things. So she's gonna hop on. Cool.
Yay!
That worked really well because it was like I couldn't see the right buttons to add anybody anymore. Like it changed. I don't know if it looks on your side.
It was like I had to request to join. Or maybe I missed it. I don't know. I don't use Facebook app on my phone, so it's totally new for me.
I just always like screw it up every time. Like that's fine. And if you see me sweating over here, it's because I am. It's like I'm sitting outside and I just like, it's constantly raining and I don't mind the mug, but like if my hair also grows like 3 inches in frizz, it's Florida life.
Yeah. I hear you. It's pretty humid out here today too, so I'm right there with you. But we have air conditioning, so everything's all good.
That is true. The lighting is better out here, so I usually go outside. So we're going to be talking about the cost of not being yourself and being authentic. So usually how I've been doing this, guys, with my guests is I kind of ask the guest what they want to talk about, and then we kind of mull over, and that's like, cool, like let's talk about this. And all this is totally unscripted. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Kayla, you had mentioned the chameleon effect and kind of like putting on a role between people. So you want to talk about your experience with that? Hi, Sarah.
Yes. Yeah, and first, I just want to say I'm so excited to be talking with you today. For everyone watching, me and Jess have like the most awesome conversations ever all the time. So we're just like, this is pretty much us. Yeah, this is us. This is what we talk about all the time. So, but yeah, no, I'm really excited for this topic because it's something that is kind of new for me. Like it's work that I've been doing recently. I never realized like how much of a chameleon I actually am. But like when I looked back on my life, I was like, oh my God, like I've had so many different groups of friends. Like I'm that type of person who will just like jump from group to group. It seems like I have like a new group like every year. I always take people from those groups, of course. But like in the meantime, when I'm hanging out with them, like I almost kind of like shift who I am to match who they are or who I think they want me to be, instead of actually just being me no matter what. So that's the work that I've been doing in the world, is recognizing that and noticing where I do that and kind of like breaking those layers. And I know you mentioned too, Jess, that you've had an experience, like when I started talking about this, that you've had an experience of being chameleon-like. So how does it show up for you?
Now that I think about it, I feel like I do that too, and I think we normally kind of conform because we don't want anybody to feel bad, or we don't want anybody to feel left out, especially like if I'm talking about my business for a while with somebody who doesn't have a business or somebody who hates their job, for example, and you know, they're more comfortable in the space of like complaining all the time versus I'm always like, I'm doing this, I'm creating this, that's my normal, but then I kind of like feel like I need to tone it down for some people because I don't want to make him feel bad, or I don't want to make him feel like, oh, well, my job sucks or whatever. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you want to relate to people, and you want to make people feel good around you, and you don't want them to feel bad. So I
Hmm.
noticed now that you're talking about that I do that. I kind of like mute myself or limit myself a little bit around certain people.
Like turn down the volume.
Turn down the
Yeah.
volume because you're
Hmm.
too
Hmm.
much, or you're too this, or I know we hear that a lot as women. And it was funny before we jumped on. I don't know if you know Jesse Nealand.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of funny talking about people on Facebook Live where they probably like have no idea we're talking about them. But Jessie Nealon, her and I have talked before personally, but she's great. She how I relate her to as a body image coach, and actually in this Instagram post she was saying like she does body image stuff, but really the root is like authenticity and not feeling like we can express ourselves and not feeling comfortable in this body and not feeling like we can really be ourselves. We need to limit ourselves. We're too much. We're too this. We're too that.
Hmm.
It's an epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think I want to go back to like what you were saying just a moment ago too, because I think it can also appear on the flip side, right? Like you were saying that you kind of like bring yourself down to match people because you don't want them to feel bad. And I think it can go the other way too. I think for me, I lean a little more on the other side where like I want to be accepted or I want to be liked.
Right.
So it's almost like a people pleasing kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
how can I be a certain way so that people will like me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
which can be toxic because we talked about this yesterday too. Was it yesterday? What is it? Thursday?
I think it was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. I just know the cleaning
Mhm.
lady came today, and I was really happy. It's like the highlight of my week. Oh my god, a
Oh
cleaning
my
lady!
God. Yes, I
Um,
can imagine.
I know it's like I come home like, oh thank God. But we were talking about what you call in when you're not being really authentic. So like if you're always having to put on this act to like please people, like who are you
Hmm.
really bringing into your life then? You know,
Yes.
like what kind of people are you attracting? Are you attracting people who really need you to bend to who they want you to be? Like that's not going to create those deep connections with other people that all human beings crave.
Hmm.
So
Well,
there's
yeah, and we're kind of getting into the costs right now too. Like when you are being in that chameleon like state, like I kind of see it as I'll use an example because that's the best thing that I can do right now. So in one of my relationships, like I really turned down the volume on myself, and I was the person that I thought they needed me to be. And so for like a whole year, like this was going on. And at the end of that year, I ended up getting so heartbroken because again, and I go back and I think and I'm like, if I just was myself from the start, that would have fallen away. Like I wouldn't have even
mm-hmm.
had to have that pain. I wouldn't even had to go through that because if I was so me, like he probably would have been like, like this isn't working.
That's true.
So I almost think too, it's like a way for us to delay heartbreak. Um,
That's so true.
like if we were just us from the start, like things that aren't meant for us or people that aren't meant for us, it would just fall away so much faster. And on the flip side, like the people that we want in our life and the experiences that we want are going to find us faster
Mm-hmm.
because we're being loud and we're being ourselves. We're like, again, like when you're talking about attraction and law of attraction, like you're attracting more of what you want essentially when you can be you.
Agreed. Hi, Mom. By the way,
Ah, hi,
I was
mom.
just on
Hi,
the
Justice
phone
Mom.
with her. I was just on the phone with her before we got on here, and she's like, "I'm gonna go on your Facebook Live." I'm like, "Okay, Mom." Um, yes, absolutely. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about my past relationship. Oh, and of course, we talked about this as well as calling in men,
Hmm.
and calling in relationships and like just relationships in general as well that we
Hmm.
that we want. And yeah, like when we're really ourselves, when we step into that role, and when we're not like muting ourselves, holy shit, like it really freaking works. Like we really attract the people who we're more aligned with. And I know
Hmm.
like when I was getting out of my last relationship, it was constantly this feeling like I was out of alignment.
Hmm.
And it was like the only thing I could do was let that go. It wasn't like changing who I was.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
everything just clicked. Like once I was more authentic, and I think also surrounding yourself with people who bring that out in you. Like I didn't realize how much I was playing a role in my last relationship. And this is again with any relationship, but knowing when you're playing a role in a relationship to maintain it, right? Because of fear of hurting somebody. Because it can creep up on you. Like you might even not notice. And then once that went away and I was with somebody who really supported me and all of me and I wasn't too much, like I remember asking him, am I too much? And he said, no, you're not too much. I was like, I just like died a little inside. I was so happy because how many times do we hear that and we have to shrink ourselves? And once you really allowed myself to be me, and it kind of gave me that permission in a way, and I gave myself my permission to do so, it was completely different. Like everything just so much happier, so much more present, so much more relaxed, so much more confidence in who I was. It just changes your whole image on who you are. I feel like I rambled on that one.
No, no, and I mean, I love what you're saying. Like, you're really speaking to the possibilities that can happen when you do embody yourself more, and when you are in your like the energy of who you are, the essence of who you are. It's almost like you were able to like turn up the volume on yourself even more,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like what can you create from that space too? You know, when you feel confident in your abilities, when you feel confident about who you are, like you're going to be taking more risks and taking more action. You know what I mean? Like you just have another confidence. You're like, oh, I don't have the stress of playing this role. Like I can just show up in my strength and make shit happen. I don't have to conform. I don't have to fake. Like that's a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. So where should we go next? I wonder if like anyone watching, if anyone has any questions
Oh,
or
of
anything that they
course.
want to bring up.
I kind of watched for comments here. I was also thinking lots of different people in here. I was also thinking about the fears that come up from being authentic. Like I know I said me and Ashley had talked about speaking your truth in relationships a couple weeks ago, and that how terrifying that is. Sometimes to really be bold and be like, you know, I need this. But also just the fear that comes up of being yourself, like that fear of rejection, the fear of vulnerability, and that it's not easy to just hammer through. It's not like you wake up one day and it's going to be like, I'm just going to throw off all the layers and I'm just going to be me. Like it doesn't work that way, right? Like you have a lot of stuff and baggage to work through, and you know that as a mindset coach, obviously. Like I'm sure you worked with people who have to go through a process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think there is value in kind of understanding like why, like if you are someone who typically hides or you find yourself being a chameleon, yes, there's gold in figuring out like why and where that comes from. But I think even more importantly, like especially in coaching, it's really about moving forward instead of like going back. Like you don't always need to know why, or you don't always need
Yeah.
to understand it. You just know that it's happening, and like what can you do to move forward? I know for me personally, like when I realized how much I was doing this, I went to the Rich Litvin Intensive in April, which we've talked about, and my breakthrough, like I was on the source team, so we had a lot of work ahead of time to do before the intensive, and we each picked breakthroughs that we wanted to have. And so the former intensive that I had gone to back in April of 2017, like I had hid the entire weekend. Like I didn't talk to anyone. I was super quiet. I was like really like fearful of like I was not myself at all. Like I was
Yeah.
completely opposite. And so this time around I was like, you know what? I really want to show up as me. Like I want to show up as all of me. I want to be playful. I want to be silly. I want to be serious. I want to be deep. Like I want to
Yeah.
be everything. And so my breakthrough was light, like shining light on all different parts of me. And so I went in with that intention, right? Like with that intention to be all of those pieces of me and to see what would happen. So it took a lot of conscious effort and conscious work to bring all of those pieces to the table. You know, like I kind of noticed when I wanted to pull back a little more, and I had to just remind myself, hey, you know what? No, I'm not here to play small. I'm here to like play into being me fully. And so even if it was scary, like I just had to do it. Like sometimes it just comes down to doing it. But I think there is value too in looking at the places like, where am I hiding and how do I hide, so that
Yeah.
you can notice when it's happening. You can like call yourself out on it. Like if you're aware of it, then you can be
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. I'm hiding. I'm like
Yeah.
making myself invisible here. Um, so I do think that there's value in that. What
No,
do you do? Like how do you be more of yourself, Jess? I'm curious.
I was gonna say something inappropriate, but
Dude, I'm gonna call you out right now. Say it because that's fucking you.
being naked,
Oh my
like
God, I love it.
I'm sitting here not wearing a shirt right now. But I was thinking when you were talking about going intensive is where I kind of clicked. It was like when I go to conferences and stuff, I feel like I need to dress up. Like I have to put on like a businesswoman role. And sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
like playing in those roles. I say that to Jason all the time. Like if he wants to take me to a fancy dinner, that's not my scene, but I'm like, sure, let me play that role. And I kind of show up as my authentic self in that role. Like I might still go
Mm-hmm.
braless or whatever. I'm not going to be a professional, like, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like bringing your parts of yourself to different roles. But yeah, like if I'm in my environment, if I'm able to be like out in my vibrams, battery doesn't die. Putting myself in positions where I don't know, I still can like wear certain things that I feel comfortable in.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like I still try to find pieces of my comfort zone within
Like
a place
what?
where I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I wore my
I
Vibram.
totally get that.
I wore my 5 finger toe shoes to a 3 day event for Red Elephant where I was supposed to meet you in person, and I was very disappointed. It was
I know.
what's his name? I forgot his
With
name.
Kevin.
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 Kevin was
Kevin.
there, and he was like, Kayla and Ashley were gonna come, and I was like, those assholes, they should have came.
Hmm.
That would have been really fun. But yeah, so it can be hard, especially in like contexts where you're not in your comfort zone. Like you're in a place where you know nobody. And for me,
Mm.
I always feel insecure because like I remember I was at a conference and some older gentleman came up to me and he was like, so how old are you? Like 16?
Oh.
And I was like, if
Uh,
people think that I'm 16, nobody's going to trust that I know what the hell I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like
mm.
that a
Mhm.
16-year-old does not make somebody feel confident in hiring them. So that was already like a blow to my confidence. So I know for me, I
Yeah.
try to identify like what limits my authenticity and then try to work through that when I'm in those certain environments.
Hmm. Well, and I think that you speak to like a really important point here. Like, if we are to look at where it comes from or why, like the reason is because we have these experiences growing up. Like when we're
Yeah.
kids, like when we're just born, we are like purely in our essence, right? And then we grow up and we have these experiences in the world and we get feedback from people. And that feedback is either good or bad. And so when we get the bad feedback, we kind of like make note, like, oh, I have to dim myself down here.
Yeah.
It's not safe, or I'm gonna be rejected, and that's when like we start to like bring down the volume. Honestly, like I feel like growing up, and I think someone might have said this in a quote, so I'm just going to paraphrase, but like growing up, we are like coming away from ourselves. And I feel like when you enter the personal
Ooh,
development world, yeah, like when you
I
come to
like
the
that.
personal development world and you're doing this growth work, it's all about remembering who you are, like remembering who you are as yourself. And yeah, like it sucks that we have to like go through this process, but
Yeah, and learning. I'm thinking, Ariel Brown.
no.
Are you guys friends with her? She's relationship intimacy coach, and that's her hashtag is remembering who you are. And I love that quote. Like sometimes I just think
Mm-hmm.
about it. I'm like, yeah, you have to remember who you are. And sometimes like I was doing a little bit of mindset work with a client, and we were just digging into like these beliefs and like who she really is, because some of us like we have no idea. We've been putting on a facade for so long, like we literally have no idea like what's
Yeah.
under the stories that somebody else wrote for us. Like we have to be the ones to rewrite it. I was even thinking last night at dinner, I was like, I might just decide to like change parts of myself. So I'm like, who do I want to embody? Like who do you know what I mean? Like who do I want to step into? Because we always have the ability to change those stories and to enhance ourselves.
Yes.
And I think we just kind of succumb to what people have told us. You're the shy girl. you're the pretty girl, you're the stupid girl, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what? I don't want to follow that anymore. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find out who I truly am and create who I really want to be, right? Because we're constantly creating ourselves. I think there's like a core element of us, but then there's all the pieces around it that we can develop.
Definitely. Definitely.
I'm
And I think
learning.
like the biggest thing it takes is courage. I mean, it's really like it's
Yeah.
taking that first step. And what I found is that so I used to blog, like we've known each other since the beginning. So that I put out a blog like every single week for years, for like 2
Yep.
years. And then last summer, like going into last summer, I don't know what happened, but like my creativity just like fell away. Like I didn't have anything left and I stopped writing for a while. And writing is like my biggest form of self-expression. I love writing. It's how I get my soul out into the world. And again, this is part of that work that I'm doing. I started to write again in October. And at first it was so hard, right? Like it was so hard to start writing. I didn't know what people were going to think. I was so scared of the feedback that I was going to get. And then I just started doing it. Like more and more, I got back into like the week of writing. Every single week, I'd write the blog. And then in April, I made an even bigger decision. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all out. And I'm like, I write and I don't share it. Again, part of like hiding and not showing who I really am and being me.
Yeah.
And then I just started to like share more of that writing. And now I'm up to like almost posting every single day and sharing myself every single day. And, I think it takes courage to do that first step to like, step into something, a different trait that you want to embody. It takes that courage to do the first thing, and we put so much fear behind it. We get so scared. We don't have a voice. We don't know what to do. But when you take that first little step and you use that courage, it just builds, and you have so much more energy and momentum to continue to share more of you. And like those fears that we have, they're not, I mean, they're real, but like nothing that I thought in my head, like nothing that I thought in my head ever came true. I think if anything, like my relationships have not been more fulfilling. Like I'm so happy now. Like there's people that I talk to every single day, and it's because I am all of me. I'm honest with them. I'm direct with them.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to be able to do that. Yeah. I think another thing too. Oh, do you want to go?
No.
Okay, I have one more thing. So I think another thing with being you, it's really about leading. Like you have to go first, right? Like
Thank you for saying that.
you have to go first. Like when you are yourself and you can go first with other people, it's going to show them that you want them in your life, right? And like sometimes you have to keep going first. Like sometimes you have to keep being you over and over and over again. Like it's like I know that personally, like I've hidden in relationships, like I've hidden away from maybe not like calling someone or like not deepening a friendship because maybe like I match people's energy a lot of times. This is like another piece of being the chameleon. So if I don't feel that they want to engage or I don't feel that they are interested, then I'll like completely like stop. And then I sit there and I'm like, why don't I have good relationships, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
true.
And it's like, duh, because you're not going first. Like you have to show yourself. You have to be you. You have to take that first step. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest. Like all of this is going back to being you and like being true with your intentions and what you want.
We just talked
You got to
about
ask
that
for it.
today, didn't we? Is leadership and like taking that first initiative. I'm just thinking of our conversation the other day, like, yep. Like we talked about like you know what I mean? It's like we won't go into detail on that one, but it's like like really taking the step forward and not waiting and just like going for what you want. That is so true. And I think I wrote a post like a month ago. It's like when you can really accept somebody who they are too, like really receive somebody when somebody else is being authentic and not be judgmental and like, what the hell are you doing? And like, you're weird or whatever in like a kind of pissy kind of tone. Like that helps them express themselves more. So also on the flip side, like when somebody's being authentic to you, like receive them, like don't put them down, like receive them. And then what I'm trying to say. I wrote a post about this the other day too, is like, it helps the other person be able to be more authentic too. It's like this kind of mutual thing of like, when you're able to be authentic and love yourself, it helps people around you be more authentic and love themselves. It's like a mirroring kind of thing I noticed. Because like with Jason, when he's very much authentic, like he is so confident in himself, very just like grounded. I think I asked him, what's the one word that describes you? And he said something like solid. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like, you're unchanged, the opposite of a chameleon. So watching him be so solid in his energy, I'm like, I can do that too. Like, it gives me the confidence to be like, look at him go out and be himself and just be so strong and confident. Like, I can do that too then, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really empowering. You can think about it that way. Like, when we're talking about leadership, when we're leaders, we benefit other people too, because then we're hopefully inspiring them to be their best self and their most authentic
We're
self.
calling them forward.
Yes,
essentially.
that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Keep adjusting because the chair is super uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. So being yourself, even being yourself and being that and sharing that with the world, that calls people forward. Just being you is essentially like leading, because again, you're going to give someone else permission to not actually like permission, but like energetically, you're going to give them permission to show up as more of themselves. And then again, I think part of being a good leader too is like you said, being able to receive someone else. I mean, it's not shutting people down, it's building them up, and allowing them the space to be the person that they are.
Because it's usually when people are like demeaning you when you're being authentic, it's usually because they're projecting. You know what I mean? It's usually because they have some sort of fear and they're kind of acting it out. Like, I know one of my clients, she has weight to lose, and like her family members always kind of project and like talk about her weight, but then they're extremely insecure about their bodies and like obsessed about their weight. So that's just an example, but you know, so sometimes you just have to take, when you're getting negative feedback from being your authentic self, but you also have to think like, what are they projecting onto me? Like, where are their insecurities and where are they putting it on me? Versus this really a reflection of who I am.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, it's interesting because again, when you do find someone judging you, right, and projecting on you, essentially judgment is a projection. Like that's actually something within them. Like, because, okay, so my coach uses this term all the time and I love it. If you can spot it in someone else, then you got it. Because you can't know. Jess, you can't know what you don't know.
Say that quote again.
So like, let's say I judge someone for being really angry and I'm like so pissed about them being angry. If I can see that, if I can see this person's anger and I'm getting all like pissed about it, then it's mine too. I have it in me because I can't know what I don't know, right?
Okay, get it.
It takes someone being angry to know what anger is.
Yes.
And to like be like triggered by it.
Yeah.
So typically, like if someone is coming to you with like harshness, like they're just reacting based on what they probably need to heal within themselves.
Yeah, which is still hard to take that negative feedback. I know one of my clients somebody said something really nasty to her because she was like dating somebody. And it's like consciously you can be like, that person is being a shithead. But then like unconsciously you're still like, am I that? Like it really takes a lot of strength to filter and be like, okay, like this is just a projection, or this doesn't define me is a good way to put it. Like that person's word doesn't define me.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to receive negative feedback. But honestly, like, you know, I've been sharing more and more, and I was really nerve-wracking when I shared, like, me and Tabitha did a workshop on sexual energy. And I was like, I'm going here. I was like, I'm going here. Like, I'm entering this new land of, like, which is something that I'm personally going through. It's like, because it's all connected to body, like, how we perceive our body image, being able to feel comfortable in our body and comfortable in movement and sharing our body. But I was so freaking like nervous. I even like reached out to some other people. I was like, is it okay if I post this? Like I was looking for permission everywhere. But then when I posted it, it was like, and I was obsessed, like, who's liking it? Is somebody going to comment weird on it? But it was fine. And I processed mistakes. Like people really, really appreciated that. And it was, again, like you said this to me once, and I think, or you did it in a workshop. like you need validation when you're changing a belief, or like if you're saying, oh, being my authentic self is not safe, like you need validation that it is to move forward. It makes it easier.
Oh, so not validation. You're talking about evidence.
Evidence, sorry, yes,
Evidence? Yes.
evidence,
Okay.
yes.
Evidence.
So I
Mm-hmm.
always remember that now is when
Yeah.
like we need evidence that changing a belief and moving into a new, sharing yourself more authentically is going to be okay.
Yeah.
That we're not going to get rejected. So either, right, like looking at our past or just making those small courageous steps of being like, oh, I shared this workshop about sex energy and nobody said I was a skank. You know what I mean? And then I just kept going from there. It's like, okay, like this is safe. This is safe. Let me go to the next level. Let me go to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Oh my God. Yeah, finding that evidence. And like that goes back to the first step too, right? Like we all have these like fears, we blow it out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
We're scared someone's gonna comment and be like, skank. And then
Skank,
we post it, we take that step, we show the courage, and then nothing happens. And so then that's evidence that, you know what, you are safe. It is okay to be more of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you shift your story, because up until that point, you're just going on all the evidence that you've gotten in the past that, you know, who you were was too much, or it wasn't good enough, or, you know, you were a skank. I don't know. So, yeah.
That is true. And sometimes it's just things that we've seen, or maybe even projections that we have about somebody sharing sex stuff. You know, like it's
Ooh, yep.
You just and now I'm out of that space. Like it took me a while to be able to receive other women like really in their sexuality, for example. Right? Like in noticing where we're projecting on that and where our own fears come from, our past experiences and our past relationships with that topic or with I don't know. My phone might die. What time is it, by the way? Do you have a somebody give us the time?
I don't know. It's 4:00. 4:00.
Okay, cool. Mother said, also we sometimes censor our true selves because we don't want to hurt or offend anybody, which we went over before. Is like,
that's what you said, Jess.
I know. Dude,
that's funny. So your mom saying
that. My mom showed me her journals, like when I was like 5, and it was like about movement and like the expressions through your body, and like it was all woo, and like I was like, did I write that? It's like, no, it was my mom when she was in her 20s. It's really bizarre. Nikki said inappropriate rocks.
What?
Nikki said inappropriate rocks. Yes, and sometimes that's our authentic self is inappropriate. I think I wrote like a little poem the other day. It was like loving all I wrote that after I was making love to myself, which is like making love to our authentic self, and that was after like an hour and a half of like deep, like I call it MMM, and it's like I just go in this space where I'm like dancing. I had Zeppelin on. I was like just expressing myself and however I wanted to, like writing, dancing. I really suggest people do that, because that's an opportunity to like be here instead of like in your technology, distracted, putting everything out versus bringing everything back in. I wrote that.
That's how you get to know yourself more, I think, too, is like when you're able to be in your body and you're able to find those methods of expression. Because again, we could see like resistance to those kind of things, like resistance to being in your body as a resistance to being with who you are. This is like literally, this is our conversations all the time. Like we have the best insights ever.
That's why I want to share these, because a lot of people don't have these conversations, but that's so true, and that's something that I'm constantly promoting with the body work that I do and strength work. Is like we just rush in and do a workout or whatever. We're just going through the motions. It's like your body has a lot to tell you. Like your body has a lot to tell you of what's going on, what your needs are, what your desires are, but we like tune it out. I've had this quote that came up in my head today. I didn't post it yet, but it was, don't let other people tell you what you want. I think that's so true. It's like people try to convince you or tell you, oh, you want this, or like marketing, right? Like marketing tells us what we want all the time. But it's like, wait a minute, do I really want that? Or am I being manipulated in some way?
Yeah.
We don't know,
oh my God.
Communicate with ourselves enough.
Yes, and I think examining our desires is a big place to start in terms of like figuring out who you are and what you want, because what you want is a part of you. Like that is a part
Huge.
of you expressing yourself in the world. Like, what do you want, and how are you going to go create it? I mean, I
Yeah.
think the two are so linked. I think the more you can be yourself, the more you can have everything that you want. Because again,
It's
it's like who you are is like the map. Like when you can express yourself fully, you can live a fully expressed life. Like how we do one thing is similar to how we do everything. Like we're
yeah.
talking about with the body too. Like if you aren't able to be yourself, you're more closed down in your body. You don't want to be in your body as much. It's all connected. And I can like speak truth to that because I've noticed that in like in relationships where I can be more myself, there's more there's more energy between us and there's more excitement between us, and yeah,
Yes.
like it's totally like
You can
the moment that
express
I feel
yourself.
myself not being able to express myself fully, it's like that's when I start to close up, and yeah,
Yes,
so
Kayla, and that's
hmm
the stuff that I'm talking about with like this more like this intimacy. It's like intimacy within yourself, within your body of
hmm
like instead of constantly rejecting our body and like trying to dominate it too, it's like that's part of authentic expression is like to me I learned like I used movement as a healing tool because it was easier for me to work through my thoughts and emotions through physical movement versus talking. And I'm reading a book now. I don't know if you know this book, Body Keeps the Score. Seems like a
no
pretty popular book, but it's about healing trauma and how trauma kind of lives in the tissue. Um,
mm,
but yeah, like if we're shutting down our physical expression as well, like that's a huge freaking part of us, right? It's like the mental,
hmm
emotional expression of like writing our words out or pursuing the work that we want, but also our body expression and how we want to show up in intimacy and how we want to relate to this body too is so important. And it's that shit is hard because we're told so much that you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too lumpy. Like no, like I get to define this body and I get to create this body and I get to
hmm
accept this body however I want to and use this body however I want to too.
I
So
love that.
I'm looking at a couple other comments. I'm
Sure.
pretty sure my phone is going to die in like a minute. I tried to charge it quick before, but I was out.
Does anyone have any questions too? Like if anyone has
Yeah.
a question, pop it in the comments, we'll answer it. Yeah, my phone was totally going to die too. I kind of set it up on the charger so it
I
wouldn't.
should have. I'm kind of
Um,
away from
mine's
that
been
part of
dying
it.
every single day. Like I'll get halfway through the day and it's done. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, that
I need to
was
do
that was
something with
me
this
too.
battery.
I was on the
Yeah.
phone for like an hour, and then I was like, "Oh shit, my battery's done." Tim Shank, who I think you know, he said we water down ourselves
Tim!
because who we fully are makes others uncomfortable. So again, like Mom said, it's like we water ourselves down because we make people uncomfortable, offended, or whatever. But again, but honestly, like, that's not our problem. We shouldn't be assholes, but
No.
you know,
I'm like, this is so funny. I feel like I'm totally opposite. Like I'm totally opposite. Like I'm definitely more on the people pleasing side. I
it's
don't really
not a
worry
people
about like offending
pleasing.
anyone. Yeah.
It's I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. But like for some reason, I feel like they're on like I don't think that. So that's interesting. But
yeah,
maybe there is part of that in me, and maybe that even more. Um, I
yeah.
think I'm more so like I want them to like me, so I'm gonna be like
Uh oh.
uh-oh, are we losing you?
No, I'm okay now. I heard what you were
Okay.
saying, but yeah. Am I still on?
Yes, you're still on.
Okay. See me keep wriggling in this chair. It's so uncomfortable, this stupid chair. Um, yes, I hear you on that. I'm thinking they're kind of connected. I don't know. I guess I never thought people
They
pleasing.
probably are. I don't know why. I'm just like in my mind for some reason I put them on two sides,
And I
and
think we should.
you're right, it is. It's all people pleasing.
I think we should filter ourselves sometimes to a certain degree. It's not like I don't run around naked everywhere. So it's like there are. I
I
I
think we're
think the
losing
info
you,
button in my
Jess.
phone's gonna die. Am I back on?
Uh,
I think I'm not sure if anybody can hear me talking.